Hi there, Coach Bob here, host of Viva La Visionary, our podcast to, for, and about visionaries. I've got today one of my favorite people in the world, Abizer Rasheed. How are you, Abizer?
Excellent. You?
Awesome. I'm better now that you're here. So, well,
Great to
welcome.
have you.
Happy Tuesday. So, Abizer, how long have we known each other? It's been a couple.
Couple decades. Yeah, I think we just
Yeah,
dated ourselves,
literally.
but yeah, I
That's
think it's probably
that's
about right.
literally right. No, and it's I love having connections and a network. And we knew each other and saw each other fairly often, then didn't. But being able to reconnect years ago and now to be in a couple communities with you is awesome. So very good. So quick question to start us off: when did you first realize you were a visionary?
When Bob told me.
That's my job.
No, I
That's
think
awesome.
I think at some point I think I realized that how I was approaching things and how other folks were approaching things was different. And at first it started to manifest itself like, either I was off my rocker or they were off their rocker and like all of that, right? And then at some
Right,
point, as one goes down their life journey and experiences other things and reads things and exposed to people like Coach Bob, right? You have to realize that um, that like even in like if some of these other constructions frameworks are like Working Genius or whatever, grab any framework that you think is appropriate. You start to realize that everyone's got a place, right person, right seat. If you look at Gino, right, or whatever, right?
right,
And so you start putting those pieces together. You start to realize that everybody has got a role to play. And so
right.
when you can reflect on that, then at least when I can reflect on that, I can see that, uh, I just I got to look at that person and I got to look at myself and determine whether I'm in the right seat or not. Because
Right.
that person, if I'm like a go guy and someone's asking what about this, poking holes at what I'm doing all the time, I can see it as a as a hindrance or like an annoyance, right? Or
Right.
I can go like, yeah, that's great. I'm go, and this guy's got my back, asking me 10 questions about it to make sure that I don't go off the rails, right? Like he's bringing me back to some kind of centering point. Just depends on how I look at it. Until
Right.
I got that perspective on, everyone's got a role to play, right role, right seat, right person, all that, right? I didn't quite grasp that conversation.
Well, and it's interesting. I appreciate that. I learned about being a visionary with Gino when he was coaching me through EOS, but then I've also realized I'm a visionary in life. And I don't like to stereotype necessarily, but it's just interesting because there are, many of us who do think a little bit different and are looking forward often and have passion, and that's amazing, but it's nice to also have other people that understand us and get us. And it's not everybody, but well, cool. And then I like to start with another simple question. What's your purpose in life? What are you here to do, to be? How are you to be remembered? So just a little question for you.
Uh, Love, care, compassion.
Awesome.
That's who I am blessed to be, and that's God willing. That's how I'll be blessed to be remembered.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. And I think that's very appropriate. That's very cool for you. That's wonderful. Well, very cool. And so I know you have a business and you also do coaching. Tell me a little bit about your business and a little bit about your coaching.
So, uh, in a real quick, we my we say we had an IT business years ago, back when the Apple IIe was like the Nintendo of the time.
Right.
We did a lot in that space. My dad started the business. I was in eighth grade. I started with the room in the back room and worked my way up with the organization. Shifted some years ago to a supply business, and then we were supplying, uh, you know, material and products to the automotive and utility companies. And so we're still doing that today. And that's a very indirect. It's a satisfaction, but it's a very indirect satisfaction. Like we're providing material for a plant, or whatever we're providing is keeping people employed, heated, cooled, depending on what's going with the AC. Employees are working, they're taking care of their families. All that's happening, and we had some small part in all of that is very satisfying. And it's an indirect satisfaction, right? And
Right.
so ever since I started in the back room with that broom, I've been going through this process of experiencing just my own journey, and then have done some training and some other things, and I kind of my mind to work on myself to kind of help navigate this journey. I mean, I had a jarring experience of, of, in my world, coming out of college, graduating, and then almost overnight, my dad like saying like, okay, you know something, have fun, enjoy. I'm recreating myself. Enjoy yourself, right? And so I
Well,
didn't quite take it as easy and as simple, and that's basically what he said, right? I
right.
made it mean a lot of extra weight. Like, okay, I did X, you better do a gazillion X. All this noise I made up, which head trash, as we've
Right.
affectionately come to call it now, right? Um,
Right.
that I made up for myself to live in my own jail cell of all that head trash. And as I
Hmm.
started to extrapolate that and understand that I had put that noise there myself, I started paying it forward by coaching, because as I noticed my own journey, I realized people were having their own journey here with their own in their way, whatever they were dealing with, their challenges, right? And so I
Right.
just started paying it forward. And as I've come full circle to in my life now, I look to recreate like what's next, like the Steve Jobs thing, right? You look in the mirror and you say, okay, well, you know, if you're not like jumping out of bed to do something, well, then why are you doing it? Like that's the high metric you should
Right.
have, right? And so I'm like, well, the direct satisfaction of working with somebody and just playing some small part, right? Asking a question, noticing something, but then having their eyes light up, their whole life trajectory change. I mean, they clearly do all the heavy lifting, right? But I
Right.
played some small part in that, and I can see the ripple effect, and I was at least the first part of that ripple effect by looking at what happened to them and in their immediate surroundings with people, things, whatever, right? I mean, that's priceless. That's it's like hard to explain.
Right.
The impact is hard to
That's
explain,
awesome.
and the
So,
fact that I was privileged to play some small part in that is beyond measure.
and I've witnessed you doing that and being that with many, and you've done it with me, which I appreciate, and I love it when people are going, "Oh shit, here comes a Beezer," and again, you zero in. So, do you have a process for that, or do you just go with your gut? How does that work?
I have a very strong faith practice, so I
Yep.
really don't think that I do anything.
Hmm.
I'm blessed to be able to hear a certain way, and again, that's a listening that I think my higher power gave me or provides me what I needed, right? I think so. I call myself an intention coach, and so
Right.
when I can walk into a conversation with the intention of just being, you know, of service to the person I'm talking to, right? With me extracted from the conversation altogether. It's like I hear
Right.
things that I otherwise wouldn't hear. I attribute that to my higher source, right? God, whatever people
Yep.
pick whatever they choose to call that higher source. Um,
Yep.
and so, yeah, I mean, I find myself things that come out of my mouth, and I'll be like, boy, I just said that, right,
Right.
right. Um,
Yeah. Like, ooh,
and
that's
so,
good
yeah, I'm
stuff,
just
right?
blessed. I'm just blessed to be able to do this work. Um, and so, no, I don't have an agenda per se. I just the only agenda I have is
Right.
to listen from both sides. Hear what my source is telling me, and to listen what the person in front of me is telling me, and just be some kind of, you know, well, one of our tenants and one of our like was it a tenant? I don't know what you'd call it, but the prophet who used to one of his things is that one of the things he said was that those people that serve God's creations are closest to God, right? So like everything is God's creations, from that rock, that stone,
Right.
to the tree, to human beings, to everything in between, right? So every time I can be of service to in this conversation, being of service to another human being, my gosh, how priceless is that? Like the treasure of being
Right.
able to do that.
I love that, and I appreciate that, and I love the term or the saying, "Listen from both sides." That makes so much sense. When I'm present, it just comes through me, and when I try to figure it out, this gets in the way. So I love that.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing
Head trash, right?
that. Right, exactly. Shifting gears a little bit. So, what, people visionary is a relatively new word in the last few decades, anyways, in small business. And I know when I was stepping into that, I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? So what would you say? What are some of the roles, or what are we supposed to do or be as a visionary? What would you say are the roles of a visionary?
I don't know that we have a role. I think we have a way of being that
Love it.
drives our roles and what we do in the moment. So I think the world is, at least what I was taught growing up was do have be, right? So I
Right.
will do a bunch of sales proposals, then I'll have business, and then I'll be happy as a result, right? I
Yep.
think I think the way that, at least for me, in my view, the way it works is be, do, have, right? So I
Yep.
just be happy. I do a bunch of sales proposals, and then I'll have a bunch of closed business. And more than
Yep.
likely, people are doing business with me because people do business with people they like. And if I'm happy to begin with, then obviously they may want to do business with me more so than if I came in all bitter trying to close a business deal. And regardless of
Right.
whether I win the deal or not, I'm happy. So I win either way, right? I win at the front end, I win at the back end, and I win through the entire process. I get to enjoy the journey. I'm not dependent on being happy when I reach the destination or the outcome
Yep.
of the destination when I get there, right? I'm happy along the entire journey. So I think, and as I become, like, for example, you asked me my being, right? I said love, care, compassion, right? So as a visionary, I'm being love, care, compassion, and I'm leading my organization from a visionary perspective. Then
Right.
I can be heard a lot more. I can hear a lot more, and I can actually myself take responsibility for myself and be present in a way and present myself in a way, the ideas, whatever, in a way that allows me to be effective. Right person, right seat.
Right. I love it.
So if I walk
Yeah, it's
in, if I
interesting. A
walk
lot of
in being a
Right.
visionary, and I'm walking into a tactics meeting or something, right? A goal setting meeting or whatever, and we're just picking up the next phase, and okay, who got this done? It's just a process meeting. Who got this done? Who got that done? Let's figure out what's next, right? And I, as a visionary, just totally clueless, walk in, and I get this great idea, and I got that one too, right? Forget the fact that I just brought up 3 ideas in the last meeting, and we decided to
Right.
exercise on those, and we're talking about those right now, right? That's totally out there. That was like last week's news to me. What's more important right now is the 3 ideas in my head right now, right?
Right.
And totally logical, totally get it. And when I'm in my element, being who I am naturally, right? Then I can be a purposeful visionary, serve the community, serve my company, all of that, and do it more effectively. I think it's all in sync then, right? It's all harmonious.
Right. No, I love that. A lot of people that approach me and say, "Well, what am I supposed to do now that I put the people in place in the process?" It's to be you. So I love that. Thank you for articulating that so well. That's awesome. So what's one lesson learned that you could share with other visionaries that it's like, boy, when I
Well, hang on, before you
implemented
go there,
this or I let,
if you don't mind,
oh,
I'd like
go
to go
ahead.
back to what you just talked about. What do I do now?
No, please. Yeah.
Right? I mean, with the path you're on, for example, I mean, you are on the path of thought leadership, right? And for years, that's been your path. And so you've
Right.
gone through this journey of putting people in place, processes in place, structures in place, and building this thing over time so that you can be this podcast guy, you can be the speaker, you can be the keynote, right? You can be the thought leader that you want to be. That's your vision. Doesn't mean it's everybody that's asking you this question that maybe that's not their vision, right?
Absolutely.
However, they do have a
Right.
vision. And if they don't have a vision, then that's an interesting question that maybe that's something they can come to you to ask to help, right? Like, I don't know what the hell to do next. So it's not when you about what do I do now is not the question. That's the wrong question to be asking, I think.
I
Because
agree, but that's what
because
is
it's a
often the question
false,
that comes
it's
up.
a, it,
Right.
it's a Trojan horse, right? You open that drawer, it's full of crap, but there's nothing in there. I mean, you spend your lifetime
Right.
doing, but then what did you achieve?
Right. Well, I think what happens is a lot of us, a lot of our initial growth is our passion, our inspiration, us, being in the moment. And then as we grow, we hit a ceiling. So then we put processes in place. And a lot of times that helps us or allows us to let process get in the way. And we start to then, like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? And it's like, be you, man. And again, people are like, I want to be like you. I'm like, okay, be like me, meaning figure out what matters most to you. What is your why, what, and how? What is your life beyond the vine? If for lack of a better way of saying it. But yeah, I agree. It's not the right question, but it's a great question that we love to hear because we're like, hey, I was there, man. You know.
Yeah, and I think that you have some skills to help them navigate from that question to a maybe a higher purpose question, which allows them to
Right.
then put it all together for themselves.
Well, and a lot of people, including visionaries, don't even understand what it is to have vision. So it's like, so what would it look like, when you're there? And it's like, well, it'd be this. Okay, great. And it may not be that, but to have that and then to have a direction to go in, but to be ourselves there and to be able to pick ourselves back up, to have perseverance, to again figure out what that why is. I know that I've been kicked down how many times, as I know a lot of us entrepreneurs have been, and to keep getting up and say, what can I do to learn from that? And what was my involvement for me falling down? And again, what can I learn? So a lot of people don't even know what that it looks like to have vision, and that's with visionaries and others. I feel like it's also good for us to coach people. What's your vision for your role? What's your vision for your goals? What's your vision for what you're going to do after school? I love that conversation because a lot of people like, what are you even talking about? It's so very interesting. So yeah, I want to go back to the other one, which was if you could share one kind of point that would change the trajectory of either your life or your business as a visionary. So what's something you either learned or implemented or let go of that was a great lesson for you as a visionary?
I think it comes back to right person, right seat. I think I answered that question in a previous one that you asked, right? I think coming to that
Right.
realization that people are not out to get each other. Yeah, I mean everyone's got an ego, yes, and I have mine. So I mean,
Right.
we're all broken, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So but to think that everyone's got some kind of doesn't get it or is so close minded or making a bunch of other head trash about whatever that person may not be thinking. It just might be just as simple as wrong person in the wrong seat, right? Or not
So
being
that's for
or
you
different
or
or
for your team
misaligned
or sorry.
expectations, right? Misaligned
Right.
expectations, what that person's role is and what they're doing,
Right.
right? Keep poking holes in my ideas, right? God, they just keep it in the way. To boy, they're keeping me, they're keeping me in check and providing some balance,
Right.
right? And I appreciate that, right? It's a, I think that in all the multitude of different ways that plays out, I think that's been probably the biggest thing inside of that question you just asked me.
Love it. Great. Thank you. And what's one of the opportunities that you're working on now as a visionary? It could be personal or professional. So either something that is a growth opportunity or a cleaning up opportunity, something that either you're working on or being right now as a visionary.
So I would, well, my coaching practice, right? I'm looking to grow up my coaching practice, and like I said, I have my plan. Well, I think I have my plan, and then God's got His plan, and in my definition, His plan is much better than mine, and so when I would I have to go down a certain path to start somewhere, right, and then see what happens,
Right.
and so being a visionary and seeing where I want to go, and being open to what He's showing me is the way I get to go, right, is the ultimate blessing, right? Because I get to then just
Right.
navigate towards that. So I can envision where I want to go, be open to the vision that God's got for me, which is ultimately better than anything I come up with my own, and then
Right.
being able to navigate to that without getting attached to the way I saw things originally,
Right.
right? It's so easy
Get
for
out and
me
get out of the
to
way.
like,
Right.
look, I wanted to go climb that mountain, but God wants me to climb this mountain. That sucks. No, no, I want to climb that mountain. Why isn't He helping me climb that mountain, right? Why does He
Right.
keep putting barriers in my way to go climb that mountain and making it easy for me to climb this mountain when I really don't want to climb that mountain, right? And then I
Right.
start wondering if what the hell God's doing and all kinds of crazy head trash, right? When I get
Yeah.
that God, at least my God's benevolent, logically speaking, He's benevolent
Yeah.
and He's all knowing, right? If I hold to those tenets, which logically I do, then I can't just discard them when it's convenient and use them when they're
Right.
convenient. So in those moments, I get to actually look at that and determine, okay, so God's will, my will. You know, it's funny. I was talking to a Christian friend of mine, and I think I caught him on he was leaving church or something, and so he was just sharing about the sermon that he'd listened to. Right? And I'm like, yeah, okay, tell me about that. So he goes, you know what the difference between joy and happiness is? I'm like, okay, what's the difference between joy and happiness? So he's like, when happiness is when God's will aligns with mine, and joy is when my will aligns with God's. Right? I'm like, oh yeah,
Nice.
you know, it's just that simple and just that
Right.
complicated. Right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And this can make it even more complicated.
Yeah, it's the ultimate
Right.
test, moment to moment. What am I going to do?
Right. Love it. So I'm sure you're aware of our rally cry, as our community of visionaries is Viva La Visionary. And what does that mean to you?
Being true to yourself, and you know, time is the only currency we don't get back. So I
Right.
can't. I'm spending it no matter what. The more if I may be able to buy some more time by by being more in frequency and being more present, as you said earlier, right? And finding ways of recovering time, like so I'm not wasting it, right? And time's the only currency I don't get back. So the longer and the more effectively and the deeper and the richer that I am aligning myself with my purpose, all the things you talk about, right? I think that's my richer experience. So every moment counts. How do I spend it?
Right. So celebrate each moment, appreciate, get the most out of each moment.
Yeah, I mean that's how and part of that is being of service, right? So as a visionary, that's my goal. I'm not I'm typically as a visionary. Yeah, I have some ideas, and you know, being a human being, I'm sure my ego plays a role in some of that stuff. And ultimately, though, I'm bringing those ideas because I think they're good for the organization. They're good for whoever I'm talking to, whatever it is, right? I'm
Right.
just there for being of service. So what more valuable than to be so present that you can um, be like that with somebody else, be that present for somebody else.
Right. What do
And the
you
golden rule,
think?
right?
So if
You
you were to
can't get
ask,
away without getting it back for yourself. So that's the
right? No,
ultimate
totally. I
golden rule,
love that.
right? You can't. So it's going to come back to me in spades.
So no, I love that. So if you were to ask a typical person, an employee, would you say that they would portray us visionaries as having a serving attitude, or that we are more egotistical and self-serving? What do you think the general answer is? And I don't have an answer for that, but
What's the first? I missed the first part of the question.
so my point was, like, when you talk about, serving, I feel that many, almost, I'd say the majority of the visionaries I know deep down have a serving heart, but then a lot of times people perceive that person as, oh, he's just in it for himself. So I think so my question was, I wonder how many people think that we visionaries are self-serving as opposed to serving others, when deep down, most of the visionaries I've met, and I know thousands of them, deep down are very caring and loving and serving. So
Well,
do you think people
I
perceive
think it's
us
an
in
individual.
general as
Yeah,
serving?
okay, now I get it. I think it's an
Yeah,
individual case by case situation,
sure.
right? Because, and at some point, internal. I think you mentioned this in the past yourself. Internal, external reality, right? I think
Right.
I'm being of service to you, and you think I'm just being an obnoxious SOB, right?
Right.
I'm blind to it. I don't get that's your reality, right? And I don't
Right.
have the wherewithal to ask, perhaps, and you don't have the comfort to tell me, right? So at the end of the day, and the only way I know if I'm being effective is if I generated the result that I was trying to create. So if I'm truly being of
Right.
service to you, and okay, well, let me give you an example. So, Bob, I tell you, Coach Bob, you smell bad, right? You're either gonna slap me or you're gonna thank me, right? One or the other.
Right. I'm going to think.
If you
Right.
get the
Right.
sense, if you get my being that I'm here to be of service to you and being supportive, you're gonna thank me, right? If you get from the way I said it, it's the same words. But if you get it from me like,
Yeah.
boy, what an obnoxious ass, he's just being rude and crude, you're gonna slap me one, right? So the only way I know is what you decided to do with that. If you thank me, I know I know, okay, I was effective. If you slap me, I got to go back and revisit it for myself, own it 100% myself, and go back and say, okay, what just
Right.
happened here, and why did I think I was being effective when I really wasn't? And that's how I
Hmm.
get the next cut of myself is to know how do I get better at what I'm doing. I think as a visionary, we
Right.
own that response. We own that interaction at all junctures, start to finish. So
Yep.
I think everybody, like you said, every visionary, every non-visionary, everybody on the planet is trying to do the right thing. And it's just sometimes I don't know if I'm doing the right thing from my intention. What's my intention? I'm blind to it sometimes, right? I don't know. I think I'm doing it for purpose X, but actually my ego is driving the show, and I don't even recognize it. Because at the end of the day, the ego is myself.
Right.
So it's like a cat and mouse game between me and myself. The better I get at finding it, the better it gets better at hiding. Right.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Well, I think part of the impetus of that question I asked is I was with a group of implementers and someone was showing a video of the Steve Jobs movie. I think Ashton Kutcher was the person portraying Steve Jobs. And he was a driven visionary and kind of a jerk as far as I understand. And people were like, yeah, yeah. And I raised my hand, like, hold on, we're not all like that. I mean, a lot of us are driven, but that was the way people were portraying the visionaries. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. And again, sometimes I know in the past I've had a vision and I tell people once, maybe twice, and if they don't get it, I get frustrated. And that's my own thing, as you mentioned. But I think a lot of people, I feel, think that we're self serving. But as I get under the hood and we have that safe space to share, and it's like it's okay to be caring and loving and serving. And it's not just about the material things and the having, it's about the being, as we talked about earlier. But that's where that kind of came from. Is a lot of people are like, "Oh, the damn visionary." It's like that's not always true. So, anyways, that's kind of where that question came
Well,
from.
let's expand on that for a second, though, right?
Sure.
If I own 100% of that, right, and whatever's going out in the world is what it's going out in the world, and if we look at the butterfly effect or whatever, and I own that 100%, right? That more than likely, as a visionary, I'm driving change. I'm taking, I know, positive change as far
Right.
as I look at it, right? I'm growing the organization,
Sure.
whatever I'm doing. However, it's still change. And so there's a bunch of studies out there that show people and change and how they react to that. They just don't like it.
Right.
Most people
Yep.
don't like it. So I don't like the change. What's the most easiest thing for me to do? Just throw up all over the person who brought the change. I'm
Right.
just a victim of this change. It's that person's issue. He keeps picking out of turn, start doing whatever, right? If I'm the visionary bringing that change into existence, or at least starting to create something, and I own 100% of it, right? Then I have a lot to say about how that person receives the change, and making it easier for them, right? The compassionate part of being a visionary. Like, we as visionaries have our own struggles in life. That's an
Right.
access to compassion for ourselves, and recognizing that about ourselves and giving ourselves compassion. Am I not then much more able to give compassion and empathy to folks that are dealing with the changes I just brought to existence? And
Yes.
being
No,
that
for
person,
sure.
being that visionary, then what is the impact on the
Right.
world? Because I get people are going to say all kinds of stuff, but they're saying those things not because it's personal to me, And not that because I'm the bad guy here. It's just that, change is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And with
No, I
compassion, I can look
appreciate
at it and
that.
say, so how do I help this person support them through the change compassionately?
Right. No, it's great. Yeah, compassion is a huge learning opportunity. Awesome. Cool. I appreciate that. A lot of thought provoking things. I guess one other thought about that stream, I've dealt with a lot of visionaries who, even in a meeting with the leadership team, are kind of abrasive and think they're the hero and feel like they have to be the hero. And then deep down, I know they're caring. And so, even to coach them to say, what was that? It's like, well, they don't understand. So, I think part of it is not only the perception of us visionaries, but again, how we're showing up. So, I think deep down, most of us are caring and serving, but sometimes I think whether it's, oh, I've got to be the leader, I've got to be the know-it-all, I've
Well,
got to be the hero. So, anyways, I just thought that
well,
was
that's why they got you to call BS on that conversation. Because if
right,
I'm coming to you to telling you that you know um, I'm trying to do the right thing and I had to be abrasive in the conversation, otherwise no one's going to listen to me or I had to stand up for myself or whatever.
right,
Uh, then they're not, and I'm doing the right thing for you because I care. They're stepping on a bunch of hearts in that room. So what? Those human hearts are less cared for than the idea, than the organization, than whatever else. So it's okay for me to step on someone's heart in the process of driving through my idea because that's the right thing to do. I think that's a very egotistical conversation, right? I can mask
I
it
agree.
inside of being nice or being caring,
Right,
but like going back to our previous point, I might even be blind to it. But that's why they got you to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff here and say, look, you know something?
right,
That's BS. If you're loving and caring, be loving and caring from the beginning to the end, 360 degrees. Not you can't just pick
right,
and choose based on what your ego tells you is convenient. To be caring about this
right,
at the expense of not caring about that, right? Because
right,
no matter no matter where people are, they have their own ability and their own right to choose what's a higher priority, lower priority. Screw the hearts,
right, right,
organization wins over everything, right? Or it's all heart, forget the organization, or it's some kind of balance. Everyone chooses where they go. But when I
right,
walk in the room and tell you I can be abrasive because I have the right idea, because I care, I'm suffering through. They make me be the a-hole here,
right,
right? It's the ultimate construction. It's
right,
their issue. I'm the caring guy here. It's their issue that I have to be the a-hole, and I'm being the a-hole because I care so much. So I'm taking it on the
right,
chin for them, right? And underneath
right.
all of that is just my ego justifying all my overbearing behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. The ego, and I think as a lot of visionaries become more successful, they get a little full of themselves. And even to your point, you're not the one necessarily adding the value to me when you're coaching me, it's coming through you. And I think a lot of visionaries, as they get those material things and the accolades, they think it's all about them. So that's an interesting thing. The ego can really get in the way of that. That's for sure.
The blessing and the bane of
Interesting.
being human, man.
Right. Right. No, I know. It's awesome. All right. Well, thank you for your wisdom. Anything else you want to add? Any other thoughts or questions? I love how you so thoughtfully and intentionally have dialogue. I've learned a lot from you and continue to do so. So, anything else you care to add? This has been great, but
I uh, I just want to acknowledge you and your journey and the commitment. What's it called? What's the latest version of it? Perseverance. Is that what it's called these days? The latest whatever.
yeah,
But the concept of just the tenacity that you've shown over the years, right? Your commitment to having this done from back when iMatter was just an idea in your head to then bring it into the schools for a period of time, and now this version. There was probably four other versions in between, right? And now this version. Um, there's a thing about, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing badly, right? Like,
Right.
like, what is that? Ineffective execution is much better than perfect procrastination, right?
Right. Right.
Um,
Exactly.
and so it takes something. And you said something about failure, or like, as you go through the entrepreneurial journey and falling down and getting back up. I would just add that I don't think it's like that at all. I think that's just part of the journey. I mean, I went to school to learn
Yep.
algebra. I could consider that falling down all the time because I haven't touched algebra since I left that class basically, or my
Right.
degree, whatever. Right? I can look at that as falling down too. But the impact it's had on my life to be able to think that way, to learn from it, and to objectively look at things now and be able to solve things logically comes from my ability to do, ax plus b, right? Otherwise, I may not have that depth of logicality, right? So I have no idea why I'm being put through certain experiences. I just get that that's my own, it's my own benefit. In the moment, I
Sure.
mean, a human being, it's many times very difficult to emotionally appreciate that, right?
Oh, for
Uh,
sure.
and so, but in hindsight, and so staying there no matter what, even though it doesn't make any sense, this is a blessing, right? I'm dealing with this challenge, it's a blessing,
Right.
right? Staying there is part of the happiness journey, the joy journey, right?
Yeah.
And it is also, you know, key to success. It's just part of the path. It's not like it's not a conniption, it's not a pitfall, it's not a disaster, it's none of those things. It's just part of the journey.
Yeah.
And you've stayed that
Yeah. And
journey from that day to today, right? You've pivoted several
excuse me.
times, you've done what it takes, and you've just again continued to roll with it because you're so committed to it. And I think that commitment, you know, comes across in the people that love and care for you. I mean, I think that's very clear to us that, you know, you could have given this up a long time ago. There's 10 or other things you could be doing that are probably much more profitable than this. Um, and but that's not what it's about. Then that's not what this is about for you, right? It's clear. So I
Right.
just want to acknowledge you
Yeah.
for that whole journey. And there's probably 10 other things I could say, but I'm running out of time, so I got to stop here. I
Oh, well,
get what I'm
thank you
telling you.
very much. I appreciate that. And you're one of the many that have been open and honest with me and supported me. So it's again, it's not been me up here and just me. It's been having a vision and having that drive and having so many people around who not only cheered me on, but again, coached me like you have, like a lot of people to say, hey, dude, look in the mirror. So again, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And that's when I said failure to me, that's a perceived failure that a lot of people look at in the moment. And at the end of the day, those are the greatest learning opportunities. So, but
Yeah,
thank you
what if
for
a
the
perceived failure
compliment.
is actually a win?
Right?
What
No,
if
I
it's one of the
agree.
wins along the
Yeah.
journey?
Yep. Totally agree. All right, Abizer, I appreciate you, appreciate your wisdom, appreciate your time, and love you, brother. And we will see you soon.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for thinking about me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Peace.